Hello and welcome back to another in-depth weather video. Today we are talking about the severe threat that will be impacting much of the eastern U.S. over the next 2.5 to 3 days. So, starting off here with the Storm Prediction Center page, we are starting off with today's forecast from the Storm Prediction Center. This is from Tuesday, which is basically right around 10 o'clock earlier this morning Eastern Time to 8 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time Wednesday morning, where we have a slight risk in Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Kansas, Nebraska, and Iowa, and then a marginal risk around it. So under a slight risk is 219,000 square miles and a population of 19.8 million people, including Dallas, Texas, Fort Worth, Texas, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, Kansas City, Missouri, and Omaha, Nebraska. We have a marginal risk across 105,000 square miles and a population of 5.4 million people, including Austin, Texas, Springfield, Missouri, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Round Rock, Texas, and College Station, Texas. So, we do have a 5% risk of tornadoes across multiple states, covering 85,528 square miles and a population of 7.3 million people, including Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, Kansas City, Missouri, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Wichita, Kansas, and Overland Park, Kansas, and a 2% risk across 148,000 square miles and a population of 13.2 million people, including Dallas, Texas, Fort Worth, Texas, Omaha, Nebraska, Arlington, Texas, and Plano, Texas. Winds line up with that marginal and slight risk, and approximately hail does too. Day 2 is going to be the major part of the severe threat, as we do have not only marginal and slight risks, but also enhanced and moderate risks. We have a moderate risk across 107,000 square miles and a population of 8 million people, including Memphis, Tennessee, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Mobile, Alabama, Jackson, Mississippi, and Tuscaloosa, Alabama. We have an enhanced risk across 110,000 square miles and a population of 10.4 million people, including Nashville, Tennessee, New Orleans, Louisiana, Birmingham, Alabama, Montgomery, Alabama, and Little Rock, Arkansas. We have a slight risk across 135,193 square miles and a population of 16.4 million people, including Atlanta, Georgia, St. Louis, Missouri, Louisville, Kentucky, Shreveport, Louisiana, and Columbus, Georgia. And we have a marginal risk across 158,000 square miles and a population of 22 million people, including Houston, Texas, Indianapolis, Indiana, Cincinnati, Ohio, Lexington, Fayette, Kentucky, and Dayton, Ohio. Our tornado risks, we have a significant severe threat, which is this hatched area here, across 152,000 square miles and a population of 12.6 million people, including Memphis, Tennessee, New Orleans, Louisiana, Birmingham, Alabama, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and Montgomery, Alabama. We have a 15% chance of tornadoes across 74,000 square miles and a population of 5.2 million people, including Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Mobile, Alabama, Jackson, Mississippi, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and Gulfport, Mississippi. We have a 10% chance of tornadoes across 98,000 square miles and a population of 9 million people, including Memphis, Tennessee, New Orleans, Louisiana, Birmingham, Alabama, Montgomery, Alabama, and Huntsville, Alabama. We have a 5% risk across 162,000 square miles and a population of 16.3 million people, including Nashville, Tennessee, St. Louis, Missouri, Louisville, Kentucky, Shreveport, Louisiana, and Columbus, Georgia. And we have a 2% risk of tornadoes across 132,000 square miles and a population of 18 million people, including Indianapolis, Indiana, Atlanta, Georgia, Cincinnati, Ohio, Lexington, Fayette, Kentucky, and Knoxville, Tennessee. Winds correspond with that moderate risk and 45%. That's marginal, or not marginal, that enhanced risk in 30% chance, slight risk is 15, and marginal is 5, with a significant severe threat across 148,000 square miles and a population of 12.8 million people, including Memphis, Tennessee, New Orleans, Louisiana, Birmingham, Alabama, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and Montgomery, Alabama. And then we have a 5% chance of hail across 443,000 square miles and a population of 46.6 million people, including Houston, Texas, Indianapolis, Indiana, Memphis, Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee, and New Orleans, Louisiana. Finally, day 2 was from 8 a.m. Wednesday to 8 a.m. Thursday Eastern Time, and day 3 is from 8 a.m. Thursday to 8 a.m. Friday Eastern Time, where we have a slight risk in 2 areas across 110,000 square miles and a population of 20.7 million people, including Baltimore, Maryland, Washington, D.C., Raleigh, North Carolina, Norfolk, Virginia, and Greensboro, North Carolina, and a marginal risk across 221,000 square miles and a population of 59.4 million people, including New York City, Philadelphia, Jacksonville, Florida, Charlotte, North Carolina, and Virginia Beach, Virginia. So that is the Storm Prediction Center's evaluation of this severe threat over the next 3 days, and it could be a major one. Let's move on to the models to take a deeper look. So we're going to be using a national model run, the NAM 3-kilometer model, and zoomed out to the entire nation because this is a pretty widespread threat, and one of the individual regions on pivotal weather isn't going to cut it. So let's start off with right around now, which is when I'm recording this, 0Z on 0Z Wednesday, which is 8 o'clock p.m. Tuesday. At this point, really not much going on. But over the next few hours, we're going to start to see more thunderstorms firing up in Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Iowa as well. And these could be major hail producers and wind makers, but the tornadic supercells that we could see out of this will most likely be in Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. As you can see here, we have this little band here in Kansas. That backwards C is usually a symbol of a possible tornadic supercell. And as we continue to move into Wednesday, we are now at 9Z, which is 5 a.m. Eastern Time. We're starting to see this band of thunderstorms form from Texas all the way up to Missouri, this line of thunderstorms. And as we move throughout Wednesday, we're going to see that move into the deep south, which is going to be the most impacted area by this severe threat. And you can see that this very powerful but very thin line of thunderstorms is just going to roll through the entirety of the south. And in particular, we're going to be seeing a very strong line of thunderstorms from Illinois down to Louisiana. This is right around let's call that 4 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday. And as this continues to move off, we see that this line of thunderstorms really does move slowly. It's only moving a few miles comparatively to, other major storm systems, very slowly through the deep south, which is only going to make things worse. And this all kind of gets amplified by the fact that this low pressure system is going to be strengthening in very quickly. It's at 983 at this point here, 982. This is right around 1 a.m. Eastern Time Thursday, as we see some thunderstorms dying down, which they typically do overnight, but they fire up again as another line of thunderstorms starts to form up in parts of Pennsylvania, New York, West Virginia, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and that is where we kind of leave off at the NAM. Now, our mixed layer CAPE is just the energy that we have for thunderstorms, and in Kansas and Oklahoma, in the next few hours, we're going to be seeing plenty of energy firing up, and as this continues through into the south, we'll also see some energy there, over 1,000 joules per kilogram from this storm system. But I really want to take a look at the significant tornado parameter, which is our version of a torcon. So right now we are seeing most of the tornado threats here in parts of Nebraska and Kansas, but that will, in the next few hours, start to shift down into Oklahoma and Texas as this threat continues to build up. and eventually we move into parts of the deeper south, where we start to see those oranges into areas such as Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and this kind of orange and reds, which is 2 to 4 on the Torcon out of 10, really starts to continuously move. We start seeing this here, which is right around, let's call it 11 a.m. on Wednesday Eastern Time, all the way until it starts to die off right here, which is 7 a.m. Eastern Time on Thursday. That's when we start to see another round of energy and shear and all that that produces tornadoes starting to build up again in parts of Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, those areas. So overall, we're going to be looking at a very expansive severe threat, a very expansive tornado threat across the entire eastern half of the country over the next 3 days. Now, I'm not saying that this could be either better or worse than the one that we had last week, but it's definitely one that's going to be widespread. And even if we don't see as many tornadoes hitting major areas, like last week was devastating with tornadoes in Round Rock, Texas, and New Orleans, which did a lot of damage and even cost lives. I'm not saying that that could happen again, as that is very rare. Again, tornadoes are unpredictable. So if you don't have emergency alerts set up on your phone or have any sort of plan for tornadoes, as these tornadoes could be occurring pretty far north, and for this part of the year is a little bit abnormal. So make sure you have a plan in place. If you live in any of those areas, even a marginal risk could see tornadoes form in that area. So just because you're in one of those lower risks and having lower percentage of getting a tornado doesn't mean you're not going to get one. So prepare for the worst, hope for the best. That is what I say all the time whenever I'm talking to people in, life. They ask me what my philosophy is. Prepare for the worst, hope for the best, and therefore you will never be in a situation where you need something but don't have it. But that is all the information that I have for today. As this tornado threat continues day after day, we are going to bring after this video airs, I'll have another update looking further into Thursday, Friday, maybe even Saturday, depending on how far this threat goes. It should end on Friday. But that is all I have for today. If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like, subscribing, and hitting the bell. And I'll see you guys next time.